Hello, friends. Welcome back to the show. I was talking to a coach friend of mine the other day and talking about the leaders I really enjoy mentoring, and I said that frontline leaders are the ones that I have the biggest heart for, and she asked me what that even means, frontline leaders. And it's funny because that's a term we use all the time in healthcare, at least where I work, but it evolved into a conversation about what frontline leadership is and what that means. So I just thought I'm going to bop in here today to talk about what I mean when I talk about frontline leaders, why it is such an appropriate term for the manager and supervisor level of leadership, and 3 tips for you as a frontline leader to feel less like a human fire extinguisher. Hey friend, have you grabbed your free consult with me yet? If not, what the heck are you waiting for? This is your chance to take the next right step toward a life that you dream of while leveling up your leadership. Oh, and did I mention it's free? So go grab your session at gracefilledleader.com/work with me. Welcome to the Grace-Filled Leader Podcast. Do you want better work-life balance? Do you get stuck in patterns of perfectionism and people-pleasing? Have you always been an overachiever but never really felt good enough, no matter how much outward success you achieve? Do you want more time for the things that matter most? Well, you are in the right place. Here on the Grace-Filled Leader Podcast, we focus on spirit-driven success and share the secrets to having better work-life balance as a busy woman in leadership. Here you will learn how to set boundaries like a boss, find peace of mind, and reclaim your time for the things that matter most. Hi, I'm Tanya, a wife, mom, leader, and certified Christian life coach. For most of my life, I tried to find worthiness through achievement. I spent decades people-pleasing and pouring myself into my work. I was looking for my value through the approval of others. This led me to feel burned out, empty, and exhausted. I had no time or energy for myself or my family. I realized that I was wasting time and energy looking for validation in all the wrong places. But my life changed when I finally surrendered and God showed me a different way. It is my mission to help you start living the abundant life God has for you. If you're ready to become fueled by grace and find freedom from people-pleasing, if you're ready to multiply your time and impact as a Christian woman in leadership, this podcast is for you. Roll up your sleeves, sister friends. It's time to get after it. Okay, so I don't think I'm alone in knowing what frontline leadership means, right? We probably hear about it most in the context of healthcare and obviously in the military. And I would venture to say that the military is where the term probably comes from in terms of when it's applied to other work environments. When you look up the definition of frontline, it says involved in fighting during a war or close to the place where opposing armies meet and fight. We've probably actually heard the term thrown around even more in the last several years throughout the pandemic when it came especially to the push for vaccinations. You'd hear things like, we have to get our frontline essential workers vaccinated first. The frontline workers in healthcare are those people treating patients directly. The frontline in the military are, of course, the soldiers fighting in hand-to-hand combat, if you will. So really, the frontline are the people that have the most direct impact on the work at hand. They are the workers, the soldiers, the ones getting their hands dirty, so to speak. Frontline workers are the core of every organization. They are the producers, so you can't have a product without the producers. So that only makes sense that frontline leaders are the leaders who directly supervise those frontline workers. They are the closest to the work when it comes to leadership, or they certainly should be. I think frontline leadership is so appropriately named because these are the leaders taking the bullets from all directions. They're in a position of taking input, and very often that's criticism or complaints from their frontline workers, and often even their customers. They're also the ones taking instruction from the leaders above them. They are the message bearers for their people, good messages and bad. I personally feel that when it comes to daily operations, frontline managers and supervisors have the hardest role in leadership. They are in a position of trying to both advocate for and hold accountable their team members. To be responsible leaders, they must do their best to positively represent their leadership and their organization when they may not have a lot of power to control or influence the decision making at the highest levels, and in fact, they may not even agree with it. Frontline leaders encounter challenging behavior and perception that they have to address while still leading and communicating in a way that helps their team feel seen, heard, and valued. This is a very difficult balance to be effective but also empathetic and compassionate. It's truly almost an art. I've heard many frontline managers and supervisors describe their day-to-day role as being a human fire extinguisher. They feel like they spend most of their time just putting out fires, addressing problems, concerns, and complaints. If perpetually in this state of fire extinguishing, it's difficult to complete all of the other project work and initiatives they're responsible for. Learning how to balance and prioritize all of the various things thrown at you as a frontline leader can be very, very challenging. And it's easy to become very out of balance when it comes to work-life balance and just emotional and mental capacity, compassion fatigue, all of the things. So I'm going to go out on a limb and make a few suggestions and observations from my years of managing people and now leading frontline managers and supervisors. Much of my learning has come from challenges, struggles, mistakes, and trial and error. So perhaps I can help you learn from my mistakes so you learn a little quicker. Although I believe every, quote, failure is truly just on the road to progress and success. Mistakes are the key to learning. It's really what we do with them that matters. So the first mistake I made for too long and I've learned from is the power of listening as a leader. I always thought that if someone brought a concern to me that they were looking for me to fix it. I assumed that they wanted advice or intervention. The reality is sometimes they just need to be heard. The best thing you can do as a frontline leader is to learn the art of active listening and empowerment. Learn to truly listen, seek to understand, and if the person is looking for a solution, figure out how to empower them to be part of the solution in partnership with you. Sometimes they literally don't even want or need a solution. They just want you to listen. So get comfortable with listening more than talking. And if you are unsure as to what they need from the conversation, ask. I've learned to say, okay, I want to be sure I best meet your needs, so help me understand if you are looking for a solution or advice, or do you most need me to just listen today? The second tip I have is to learn how to empower people and reduce their dependence on you through appropriate delegation. Don't delegate things that you just want off your plate, but delegate things that will meet a need for a team member or to a need that they have to grow or to take on more responsibility. There are a lot of people that just aren't satisfied if they're just in the same stagnant role and they like to take on extra responsibility, extra duties out of the ordinary. Delegation builds a sense of autonomy if done well with those you lead. Our goal as leaders should be to grow future leaders, not to hoard all of the knowledge and responsibility that goes with leadership. You need to always be thinking about your, quote, hit by a bus plan. In other words, have you set your team up for success if you were to suddenly be hit by a bus and unable to come to work? Have you empowered them to understand the business of what you do, to self-manage in a way that results in a well-managed team without the need for you to micromanage them? I used to think that delegation would be perceived as me trying to dump my work on other people. And I tended to be a doer and a fixer rather than a delegator and an edifier. I was so wrong. Yes, I need to be responsible for doing the work that is mine to do, and the goal is not to make my life easy by making my team's life harder. The goal is to allow and foster an environment where people grow as professionals. My third tip, and this is a really hard one, at least for me, is to try not to take feedback personally. This is really difficult for me, and this is an area where having a coach has really helped me grow. I struggle with not taking things too personally, but I am doing much, much better in this area. We've talked about my journey away from people pleasing. I now try to see feedback, or at least on my best days, I try to see feedback, even criticism, as an opportunity to learn and grow. While some may be a little bit of valuable information wrapped up in a big pile of nastiness, I can still choose to see what can be of value from the information. While it's tempting to be reactionary and defensive, that generally doesn't bring about progress for anyone. But neither does shutting down or perseverating on what people are thinking or the nastiness that wraps around the information. The key is really to take what you can from the message, own or take responsibility for what you can, and learn from the rest. Understanding that behaviors are a symptom of underlying feelings is very helpful as we listen and seek to understand feedback that comes our way. There are so many circumstances inside and outside work that contribute to feelings and perception that people have. A nasty reaction toward you may just be a symptom of something that has its roots somewhere else. On the other hand, it may also be an indicator that you have room for improvement in your leadership. At minimum, feedback allows for growing awareness. Self-awareness is the first step in self-management, which is essential when it comes to developing awareness and managing others. You cannot effectively manage others if you don't know how to effectively manage yourself. So, frontline leaders, I see you. I see you taking hits from all sides, but know that yours can be the most intimate and impactful level of leadership. Don't take that reality for granted. Learn from me. Learn to listen, learn to delegate, and learn to not take things too personally. That's all I got for you today, my friends. As always, I pray that the Lord fills you with gratitude, peace, and His amazing grace. I pray this episode blessed you, spoke to you, or encouraged you in some way. If so, please share it with a friend and head on over to Apple Podcasts to leave me a review. That's the only way for me to know if you're enjoying the show. Nothing blesses me more than to hear from you. Also, come on over to our free Facebook community. This is a great place for us to support one another on our faith and leadership journeys. You can find the link to the group in the show notes or go to gracefilledleader.com/community. If you have questions or content ideas for the show, please send me a message on SpeakPipe or via email. Go to gracefilledleader.com/contact and leave a written or voice recorded message. I would love to know how I can best serve you on the podcast. Now to Him who can do immeasurably more than we can ask or imagine, according to His power that is at work within us. Ephesians 3, verse 20. Until next time, my friends, God bless.